Thank you. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with so many people that we have gotten to know and appreciate over the years. Ralph, thank you for being such a warrior for Christ. You know, the story that the speaker told about the bulletproof George Washington, I was going to tell that story too. It's a great story. But here's what's really key about that. That story used to be in American history books until it became politically incorrect to put stories about God in our books. And, we have to develop some courage. We have to be willing to stand up for what we believe in. And I was so pleased over the last several weeks to see that the state of Oklahoma and Louisiana have said to put the Ten Commandments back in the school and to teach the Bible. And the left gets upset. But when you ask them exactly what is wrong with thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not commit adultery, and thou shalt not envy, and thou shalt not lie. And of course they don't have an answer for that, do they? But it was because God loved us that he gave us some guidelines. Some years ago, I was in an operating room, and the phone rings when one of the circulating nurses picks it up and hands it and holds it up to my ear. And it was the university attorneys. And they were saying the state of Florida wants to attach your wages for child support. I said, what? I said, I have 3 children. I support them very well. By the way, I have 8 grandchildren, not 3. So, But they said there's a woman in Florida. She says you are the father of her son. And she knows where you went to high school and college and medical school, internship and residency, even has a picture of you in scrubs. I said, anybody can get that information. Are you kidding? On the basis of that, a paternity suit? And I had to get my lawyer involved, and it escalated. And then the state said, send us a blood specimen so we can do DNA testing. And I said, I'm not going to give you guys my blood. As incompetent as you are, it'll end up at a murder scene, and I'll be in jail for the rest of my life. And then it escalated a little more, and then it just died. But what happens is sometimes people see somebody who's out and about a lot like myself, and they assume that you're messing around and that you're going to want to protect your reputation. So it's going to be an easy mark and they'll be able to get some financial benefit from it. But you see, I had one secret that they didn't know. I knew that in my entire life, the only woman I'd ever slept with was my wife. So I didn't have to scratch my head and say, was there a conference in Milwaukee? Or this, no. But maybe the reason that the Lord gave us some guidance is because he wanted to uncomplicate our lives. It's because he loves us and he wants us to have good and decent lives. But we have to be courageous and we have to be willing to talk about him. We're told from the time that we're little children, there are 2 things you never talk about in public: religion and politics. Just the 2 things that we need to be talking about right now as our country is changing. Because evil thrives in darkness, and we have to be willing to shine the light on it. And, I want to talk a little bit about God's presence in our lives. Some years ago, there was a young man, and he had a disease called Van Hippel-Lindau, which you develop these very vascular tumors throughout the central nervous system. And he had developed one in the middle of his brainstem. And none of the adult neurosurgeons would operate on him because that's considered an inoperable area. And it looked very grim. Well, unfortunately for me, his wife happened to be a pediatric neurosurgery nurse who worked on the floors where all my patients were, so I couldn't escape her. And she said, "You're going to have to operate on my husband." And I said, "But I'm a pediatric neurosurgeon." And she says, "Well, sometimes he acts like a child." And she just kept after me until I finally said, "Okay, I'll go and talk to him." And I said, "Craig, this thing is in the middle of your brainstem. It's an inoperable area. It's like a coaxial cable. Every fiber is critical to your function." And I said, "If I operate on that, there's at least a 50-50 chance that you will die on the table." And he said, "Doc, if you don't operate, there's a 100% chance I'm going to die." And I said, "That's a pretty mature attitude." So I took him to the operating room. It was a very difficult operation. A lot of new vessels had grown into the area. But I made a very tiny hole in the brainstem on the high-powered microscope and probed with a little microprobe until I felt a different consistency. Put in the little microforceps, grabbed the capsule. I couldn't see it. Just started easing it out and teasing it out. And then the evoked potentials went flat, the electrical impulses that showed brain activity. And the anesthesiologist said, "I told you you were going to kill him." And, it was very somber at that point. But I managed to finish getting the tumor out. And, we had prayed earnestly, the patient and his wife and I, before the operation. They were very faithful Christians. But at the end of the operation, he didn't wake up and was sent to the intensive care unit on full life support. But when I came in the next morning, he was sitting up in the bed telling jokes. And, he made a complete recovery. But, that was not something that was done by me. That was something that was done by God. And he says in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths." And that's what we must do. Trust in him. He loves this country. This is a country that is unique and different than any other. Our founding document says that our rights come from our Creator, also known as God. And we have to be willing to talk about that and be forceful, not just stand in the corner and look at our feet and hope no one calls us a nasty name or tries to cancel us. Because this is our country. This is God's country. He's done it for us. And if we're going to be the land of the free, we also have to be the home of the brave. Thank you so much.